only one place to start, Joseph, and that is by talking about Arsenal, because interesting midweek performance. He is very happy about this. 2-0 up against Wolves. Obviously, it finished 2-2. Now, for context, it's worth pointing out Arsenal are still 5 points clear at the top of the table. Man City do have that game in hand, but a lot of people are talking about their recent results. Won 2 of their last 7 Premier League games, and it got a lot of Arsenal fans, a lot of football fans in general, talking about what's happening at Arsenal, and it gave us a bit of an idea. The Saturday Social whiteboard is out.
Yeah,
explain what we're doing.
Absolutely. We've tasked Alex with quite a difficult sort of area of chat here, haven't we? Because a lot of Arsenal fans, a lot of people online, a lot of narrative around the issues surrounding Arsenal's title race, the perceived problems that could well develop over this next 12-game run. So we've kind of pitched some ideas to Alex of some of those potential pitfalls that could well happen. We've got the whiteboard out. We've got A to E, A being the biggest problem facing them, E being the least big.
Start with fixtures?
Start with fixtures, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, so how big of a problem is the fixture list that you perceive? Because we can see the fixtures on screen now.
Yeah, I think it's worth pointing out the comparison, isn't it?
It's tight between you and City. These are both very difficult run-ins.
Yeah, I would say relatively, it's not one of the biggest issues. I think Opta have something like the 5th easiest run-in or something like that. I don't know how much this matters. Zach and I were talking about this before. We don't leave London that much. So I don't know whether that's particularly relevant or not. I look at City, and maybe this is my bias at the minute, trying to sort of stave away the fear, but I look at some pretty scary away days at relegation threatened clubs. I look at Leeds, I look at West Ham, Burnley potentially at the end of the season. That's what I'm looking at. I also think in terms of the Champions League, we've got some fixtures that look all right between the sort of round of 16 and the quarterfinals as well. The final thing I'll say is the Carabao Cup. That's not on there, but that is the big one for me. That is the big one. I think that might be bigger than the Premier League.
Ooh, Zach, looking at the fixtures side by side, who do you think's got a tougher run-in?
I think the tough run is City. I think also they've got to go and win that game in hand. If they get a draw against Palace in this case here, that puts it kind of back into Arsenal's favour again. So I do think it is City. I don't think it's by much. I think Leeds away, I think it's like 5:30 that game, does make a little bit of a difference. That isn't an easy game. Under the lights for sure.
It is tight, isn't it?
It is tight.
I think a big deal's made when there's a title running. You always look at a team with sometimes have more favourable fixtures. I don't think there's a lot in that.
I should mention it as well. We do go away to the Etihad.
Yeah, that's a big one.
we haven't actually mentioned that.
What do you think, Al?
The thing with the game away at the Etihad is, I remember a few years ago when they went to the Etihad, drew 0-0, and there was a bit of a narrative that was Arsenal showing a poor mentality, whatever. I think going away to City and drawing is just a good result in general. But I think it's worth Arsenal in that game taking the risk and going for that as a win and risking a loss, because if they win that game there, I think the title's basically done, mentally at least.
And worth pointing out, you put it in D, so you don't perceive that as one of the bigger problems.
Yeah, so
move on to the next category.
A would be one of the bigger ones. Yeah, there's some tough ones, but I don't think it's the biggest one.
Okay, what have we got next? On pitch management. Now, what are we talking about here?
On pitch, so tactics, literally the player selection, things like that. Look, we are top of the league, and I think it's important to say that we got through in the Champions League, top of the league stage there. We're through in the Carabao Cup. We've got one game left. We're critiquing a team who've done a lot right. But I think a lot of people feel from the on pitch there's a stagnancy, especially in the final third. I think the area that people feel most upset by is the lack of access to the dangerous areas. We play so much outside people's shape. We play even against Wolves. When you've got 5, naturally you've got a spare man outside the shape, so you can combine inside. You can carry inside, and you've got the spare man to go in there. We kept playing around the shape. It's like we're trying to get the advantage outside against a 5. It made no sense to me. I think also from a selection perspective, Zubimendi has something like 3,000 minutes played. It's mid-February. I think we could have used Norgard more. Timber, similarly, Timber's form has completely dropped off a cliff, and I think it's because he's knackered. But I think really what people feel, and we're going to talk about sort of mentality a little bit later, is the frustration with the fact that we just feel like we're not attacking the game. We're happy to hold it, control, and this is just one other thing. I think on Arteta, he had an interview recently where he spoke about sort of his mentality and how he sees football. He says he doesn't see it in different phases. He doesn't see it in attacking phases. He sees it as one whole thing. And I think you can sort of see that. You can see that while the players are attacking, they're thinking about, I need to be here for the rest defence. I'd love to see us flip that mentality a little bit.
Oh, what do you make of the use of Eze? Because obviously, it's so effective for you, but this season, it feels like over the last couple of months, it has struggled to make an impact.
I said when they signed him that I don't think he would necessarily be the difference between Arsenal winning the league and not winning the league. And at times at Palace last year, he did go missing in games, especially up until like March. He was having a poor season at Palace. People wanted him dropped, and then we always had a joke that March to May Eze is like prime Messi. Like he just turned into an unbelievable player every year. So maybe the same thing will happen. But it's interesting what you were saying. Like he needs freedom to play, and I see him so much like in that kind of edge of the box area. And he just never gets the ball, ever. Yeah. And I don't think he shows for it as much as he possibly could, but it's frustrating when you have a maverick player like that. I thought that was a show of intent of Arsenal to go and sign a player like Eze, and it shows that maybe they're going to be willing to give players more freedom, but he just hasn't had that at all.
Yeah, I think it could be a positioning thing. Look, it's always a balance, and we've got so much right this season. I don't want people to think, we're miles off it. We're top of the league, but there is a bit of a profiling issue, certainly with certain players. Saka's been out on that right wing, and we've got him in century, and I think that could be a fix. Gyökeres, we've used him as a hold-up guy sometimes. That's not who he is. He's a channel runner. Zubimendi sometimes is put in situations where I think, big spaces he's got to cover. That's more Rice's job. He does get it right a lot of the time, but he doesn't always, and it can hurt us.
Where's that going then?
I think it could go in B, but I can't. Again, the position we're in, I think there's bigger issues, so I'm going to put it in C.
Okay, and there's a similar one we're doing next. So do you want to explain this category?
Yes.
So you've got off-pitch management.
Off-pitch, so sort of ego management, sort of narrative management, upwards management, sort of looking after the group, whether the group is sort of splintering. I don't feel that. However, last night, our technical director resigned with immediate effect.
Oh wow! I didn't know.
So I don't know what's happened. I'm not saying that's Arteta's fault at all, but obviously that doesn't tell you he got promoted in the summer from head of recruitment to technical director. So that tells you there's something has gone awry. The one thing I would say here, I think generally the group feels together. I do think you've got leaders in there, people like Declan Rice and so on. I think the one thing I'd love Arteta to do, he comes out and he often talks about the standards of the game, and we've done the right things, and you just need something to fall for you. I'd love him to go, let's breathe a bit of life into this, and take a little bit more for himself and say, I can free them up a little bit, because I think that's what everyone feels. Everyone watching Arsenal, I'm sure all of you would go, they just need a bit of freeing up. Everyone can see it. And I don't think Arteta always says that.
Originally, that was the thing where he did that with Arsenal. It didn't work out. You guys didn't win the league, and I think that kind of scarred him quite badly.
Yeah.
And then ever since then, he's been like, you know what, defensive first. Like, let's make sure, let's protect our own net and kind of build up from there. And ever since, I can't remember exactly what season it was, because there was a time Arsenal were playing free-flowing football.
23.
It looked incredible.
Yeah.
Gabby Jesus was on fire.
Yeah.
And then it didn't work out in the end. And ever since then, he's kind of changed his thinking.
Yeah, it's always a balance. And look, there were some numbers that came out this week that every single team, by yours, United, have gone down from an open play XG perspective. So you're in a context. The league is physical, and I understand what he's doing, but it's breathing. He actually, after United, he did say, we're trying to enjoy it a bit more, and everyone's going, okay, great. But it feels like we went back into our fear, and we're going to come to a conversation later about this. And I do feel that's a factor. I think it's not a massive one for me. I'd probably put it in D.
Okay.
I think the group is pretty.
E, honestly,
the group's pretty together.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about the group then. Let's talk about the squad.
So the squad as a whole.
Is this a problem?
No.
How can this be a problem?
No, this is a fantastic squad. And I think there are issues, which we'll come to. But when I look at the talent in this group, how many times have we sat on here and done combined 11s with Gabriel and Saliba, and we're just, I'm just waxing lyrical.
Best squad in the league, isn't it?
It's also not just you mentioned the starting players there, it's depth, because there'd been an argument that Man City, Arsenal, who've got the strongest 11, but actual squad, I think a lot of people would say strength in depth is where Arsenal's big strength is.
I think arguably that's why people have been so frustrated sometimes this season, and we're going to talk about injuries in a second. It hasn't actually derailed us massively. We've had a similar-ish amount of injuries, but actually we haven't been derailed. The squad in themselves as well, I think, is a peak age. If you look at a lot of the ages, we've found the right age. A lot of these guys are 25, 26, 27. They're the right time to be winning a Premier League, so I don't think it's the problem at all for me. So I'll put it in E.
Yeah. Next up, you mentioned it there, then, injuries.
Yeah.
It's looking okay now, isn't it? There's not many
clear.
you've got.
He's injured.
Best records of anyone in the league now.
Right now, yeah. I would say, and look, people aren't maybe necessarily going to be sympathetic to this, but I'll try. There's certain players who've been injured, like Kai Havertz, who have an out. I would say players like Declan Rice would be above him, but there's certain players you really need them. Kai Havertz is so important to what we do, on and off the ball. As a reference, we also, and again, I'll try this one, people won't like this, Marino. when we don't, I know a lot.
What are you laughing about,
But
Jack?
when people,
What are you laughing
when we
Tried to replace Havertz, they got it wrong.
That's what I
Funny
was saying about the
opera,
squad. Like, how can you say the squad is E when you're still leaning so much on players from?
Can I give you a
previous years?
specific example from Brentford? We didn't have Havertz or Marino available that game. So that means Keith Andrews goes into that game saying they have no reference. So if we press them, they have no one to go to. And someone like a Marino gives us that, it's that squad thing you're just talking about. It gives us that valve, someone who can step up from midfield and be that reference. And we've had injuries, and for example, actually, Gabriel and Saliba had, I think, more time out individually, but they've had quite a few games out together this season. So there's been sort of clusters in moments. It's not, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to put it in A, but it has been a problem. Odegaard's been out, Saka's had
Smith is
visits
in with
out.
13
I'm sorry. What am I listening to? We've got 13 players out.
but
It's
yeah.
an issue that everyone has, isn't it?
Man City have had multiple players out.
Yeah.
I actually look at Arsenal's injuries recently. I know the start of the season.
Yeah.
And I think there's hardly. I mean, we're looking at the stats guys were saying is Marino out till May, and all the others could return.
Yeah,
There's only
right
one
now.
or two players that are potentially out. Trossard, I know, is a doubt.
I think I would say that's right now. I think across the season we've had
okay,
injuries.
okay. Where are you sticking it then?
I'll put it in D or E.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll put it in D.
So lots of positives
So
at the moment.
very
Not many,
positive so far.
not many issues at all.
Next up, recruitment. So look at
Okay.
signings.
So this has been I want to sort of isolate this more to like the last maybe 18 months. I think if you look historically, Arsenal's recruitment has been pretty good, basically, since the Kroenkes have come in.
Highest net spend in the summer. Was,
generally got it right. But I do have some question marks. I have some specific question marks. One, Christian Norgard. If you're going to sign that guy and play Declan Rice and Zubimendi so much, you have to play him. Him and Ben White, I think, have something like 100 Premier League minutes between them in 2026. It's so. So I'm not, when I'm saying recruitment and a lot of these, I'm not necessarily saying the player's the problem. It's like if you're going to sign them and don't trust them, that's an issue. I also look in the summer. I think Noni Madueke is going to be a fantastic footballer, a fantastic player for Arsenal. But when Antoine Semenyo is available for £65 million and he was £50 million, I question that use of funds. I think there were maybe better usage as well. The final one is obviously Victor Gyökeres. I came on in the summer. I wasn't quite sure about it. I think he's got unlucky with Kai Havertz's injury, to be honest. I don't think he was meant to play that much. But from a recruitment perspective, there are some questions, specifically in the forward areas. Signing that superstar over the last 3-4 years, we haven't quite done that.
So Declan, we're speaking about, 36 hours after the Wolves game? Head still spinning a little bit? Are you still processing that?
Yeah, really, really difficult to process in the moment. I think right now I processed it, digested it. Obviously, because we have such a big game on Sunday, we can't dwell on the other night too much. But from our standards, it was to be 2-0 up with half an hour to play. You've seen us in games this season. We either go on to win that 3 or 4, or we see the game out at 2-0. So to come back and for them to come back and draw 2-2 was sickening and very, very disappointing in the end.
Can you put your finger on what happened in that last sort of half an hour?
We just stopped doing the basics.
Why?
I don't know. It's easy for people to say, they're doing this, they're doing that. In a game of football, it swings both ways all the time. We ended up getting into the game they wanted to play, which was duels, long balls, giving them silly fouls. They kept putting the ball in the box, so we're constantly on the back foot. We didn't really get a foothold in the game after the goal, which is what's disappointing, because at 2-0 up, you think we're going to walk away with it. Yeah. But look, it's one of them things. Mistakes happen in football. It's part of the journey that we're on. It's never going to be like plain sailing every single week. Obviously, it was a real kick in the teeth because it was 3 points that were there for you. But that doesn't stop what we want to go for and what we want to achieve, and that's why, yesterday I was still thinking about the game, but I've come in today and I feel, really more relaxed about it, just because, not about the result, but just in terms of my mindset and things like that.
But you have to move on, right?
Yeah, you have to move on, and obviously with the game that's coming next and the week after, we need to be ready for that.
When you've had a bad day or a disappointing result, do you have a process for moving on? Like, what are you like after the game? How are you the next day? How do you handle it?
The manager's really, really good at calming down situations. You see a lot of talk of what's it going to be like in the changing room? What are players going to be saying to each other? Like, us as players, trust me, if you were in there the other night, you would see how much it means to us. Yeah. And that's the level we need to be at, because if you want to win stuff, you need to be able to demand stuff of each other and say truths in the moment, you know. I've had them done to me, you know, other players have had them done to themselves in their time, and that's just part of trying to build a winning culture. And I think that's where the manager, like I said, comes in, because he comes in always from different angles and puts perspective on things, and, you know, is really calm. And obviously yesterday we had a day off to clear our minds, obviously, and then now we're going into Spurs, and we're going to be ready.
So, go on then. You touched on it there. Take us into that changing room in the moments after that Wolves game. It was volatile, was it?
I think from the moment I come in to the moment where we're at now, I've seen a big difference in terms of after games and the mentality of the boys, in terms of if things ain't right, things will get brought up and things will get said in the moment, even if it's heated. But 5-10 minutes after that, you know, you'll shake hands and, you know, it's over. But that's what it's about. You know, I've seen documentaries on top teams over the years and how they push and demand from each other, and when bad moments come, saying something and getting something off your chest that you feel can actually help the situation. So I think the other night that was needed, because at 2-0 we should have went on to win the game. We know the position we're in. But like I said, we've all just come in this morning, and, you know, we're men, you know. We shook hands the other night. It was disappointing. It was not nice, but we've come in now and we're ready to go for Spurs. So.
And what would you say about, like, form in general at the moment? 2 wins in 7.
Yeah.
Like, how do you explain that?
Yeah, it's obviously not looking good on paper. My thing is, I've looked yesterday at the results that we've had and the goals we've conceded, and I think the goals that we're conceding were self-inflicted goals. I could go through so many goals, but just where we'd make a mistake and we give the game back into the opponent, whether it's from like a second phase or like the first phase of a corner where we're usually so strong.
Yeah, is that become a habit?
Back in.
Letting teams back in.
It's not become a habit, because it's been our strong point. You know, our defence has been incredible. Everyone's in sync from front to back. But there comes points in the season you ain't going to be perfect for the whole season. What we was doing at the start of the season, there was talks of can they go on to do clean sheets, and there was never any thought of that from us, because this is the Premier League now. Like, you're playing against the best players week in, week out, and any team can surprise you. Wolves. Like, everyone would have thought, Arsenal are going to win comfortably at Wolves. They have good players. And that's why you've got to be switched on 24/7 in this league, because you can get hurt at any time.
I suppose what a lot of people are looking at it at the moment and thinking, because over the last few years you've not got over the line, is the weight of that, is the pressure of that playing a part in the performances and in the results? What do you think?
Me playing? No. Like, this is just another day. It's another game. Like, of course we're first, and outside noise and fans from other teams, people are going to talk it up. We're on our own journey, we're on our own path, and we fully believe in each other here. We want to do it because we've got such a good core group, such quality players now that we can do it, and it shows that then we can flick a page in terms of people talking about that mentality.
Well, one thing that stuck with me after the Man United game, the manager talking about, look at the position that we've earned for ourselves. We have to enjoy this.
Yeah.
This might be completely wrong, because obviously I'm not inside it. It does sometimes feel at the moment like you're not enjoying it. Is that wrong? Is it right?
No, we enjoy every day. Like, every day coming in here with these teammates, like the manager, the coaching staff, I can tell you now, it's unreal. Like, you enjoy it. Of course you do. This is our job. You know, we're playing for Arsenal. You know, final of the cup, next round of the FA Cup, final in the first phase of the Champions League, first in the Premier League. So we need some perspective about where we are, but also we need to look a bit bigger to understand that if we carry on doing what we're doing in terms of the results, it isn't going to last. So it's on us as players to pick that up, because we have it in us to win every game. I believe that. I genuinely believe with this group, with this players, what we've done here before, I can see us. We could go on a run and easily win games, but it's on us, you know. It's going to be switched on. You're going to be ready for everything that's thrown at you, because that's what's needed for these final games.
As I think the manager said after the game, straight after Wolves, you know, is the next game the perfect game?
100%. I think North London derby is always special. I've been able to play in a few of them now, and I understand the rivalry, understand who you're playing up against, what it means, and on Sunday isn't just going to be about football. It's going to be about how much you want it as well. You're going away to Spurs. They have a new manager. Obviously, they've had loads of injuries, but it's going to be a game both of us are going to want to win. And there'll be a lot of quality on the pitch, but that day it's all in your mind. How much do you really want it? And you've got to fight for it. And trust me, I want it. So we're going to be ready.
I feel like it's not that other games don't suit you, but it's kind of your type of match, like a battle, a fight, something you can sort of chuck yourself into, lead from the front.
Yeah.
Are they? You relish every game, I'm sure, but you look at this one and think, I'll have a bit of this.
Yeah, definitely. I think getting to play away as well. I've only been able to do that once for Arsenal at that Spurs stadium. So look, it's going to be tense because obviously we're going away to there. Like I said, they got the new manager, but we've got to be ready for everything that's thrown at us, and we've got to gain that energy off the crowd. From within, you've got to think every fan in there, other than the Arsenal fans, they're trying to beat us today. And
do you love that?
Yeah, you have to. I think you've got to enjoy these moments for sure. But I believe in this team. I believe in this squad, and I know what we can do and what we're capable of. So we're going to be ready.
Do you think the team performance in the first game against Spurs was your best, or maybe your most fluent performance of the season?
I think it was a really good performance because we dominated them in every phase of play. The high press, mid block, defensive block. We was really good that day. It was probably one of our best performances of the season. But you also get that extra energy when it's a London derby, when it's Spurs, when you're at home. It gets spoken about so much. So that result that day didn't surprise me.
I wanted to ask you about Eze, because you obviously know what it's like being a new player coming in, big fee, and having to impress. He was unbelievable that day, but it's probably been more difficult since. What do you see from him, and how big is that challenge when you make the step up? You had a very similar thing.
Yeah, it's a massive step, and he's coped with it amazingly well. Even though it looks like he's not played a lot of games, he has played so many games for us already, and he's done amazing for us. And his mindset and the way he trains, the way he looks after his body, the way he is with the boys. I've never seen a player settle so quickly with lads like Ez has done. So that's credit to him. But I see his quality every day, and we have a special player on our hands, and it's down to us and obviously down to him to keep getting the best out of himself, because he's more than capable of doing anything on a football pitch. Some of the stuff he does with the ball on the pitch, you're just like, how do you even do that? He just glides with the ball beautifully. So, we need to keep getting the best out of him. He's done amazing for us so far. But there's much more to come. It's only his first season. So, much more to come.
Also wanted to ask you about how football has changed. Premier League has changed. How much has the league changed in the last, or even during the course of this season?
Yeah, so much. I think this is my 10th season in the Prem. I would probably say this has probably been one of probably is the toughest in terms of that it's been.
Do you mean the quality, the physicality, both?
I think the quality, yeah. I think a lot of people have an opinion that the Prem is not where it is. The Prem is not where it's at the minute. But you could ask any player in the Premier League, they'd tell you the opposite. I think a lot of people, the game has changed in terms of probably physicality, duels, set pieces, trying to gain an advantage wherever you can.
Yeah.
That's where it's changed. And in terms of the quality, every time you play against a team now, every team's got 2 or 3, 4 players who have world-class ability and are very good. And on their day, if you're not switched on, they can punish you. So this year's not been easy. It's not been a walk in the park. We've done really well because as a collective, our 11 starters, the players that have come off the bench, have all chipped in and helped us with goals in the moment. I think that's why it's been tough. But the Premier League it's definitely changing.
And Sunday will be your 100th Premier League appearance for Arsenal. I mean, firstly, that's gone quick, hasn't it? But also in so many ways, in the way you've progressed, become, I think, a more versatile player, talked about whenever there's discussions about the best player in your position? Do you feel like in so many ways it's just gone, as well as it could have done, really?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've just tried to work as hard as I can and give it everything I've got. I watched a good podcast of like Steven Gerrard with Rio Ferdinand the other week, and he was just talking about himself as a midfielder and like what he was, and he didn't put him down to like one thing. He just said he's a midfielder that could have done a bit of everything, but he was the best at doing everything. And I think he's someone that I love to look up to and look forward to. Just because of how he was on the pitch, his demeanour, how he took games by the scruff of the neck, the fight he showed, the passion. And over the years, I've tried to watch him as much as possible, and I think I've started to grow into that much more. Still a long way off before I hit his level. But yeah, I think he's someone I've really tried to emulate since I've moved into this box-to-box role, and it's really helped me. So I want to keep going. 100 games for Arsenal in the Premier League is... it's special. I'm really happy.
And do you know what? I think back to all the interviews I've done with you over the years, and you've always said there's much more to come, and you've been right. And do you still feel that?
Yeah, 100%. I think every year when the season ends, I look at myself and I think, where can you... My dad used to say it to me, how are you going to get better again? Like, how are you not going to stall that other people go past you, And you need to have this mindset that you're just going to keep getting better and better. And I think consistency plays a massive part in my game. Knowing how to play well, knowing when to do the right things right. So yeah, look, I think there is much more to come from me. I think this season's been amazing. Still so much more football to be played. But I do think I can still go to more levels. So yeah, exciting times to come.
And very lastly, we sort of said it's gone almost perfectly. I mean, we know the one thing to add, don't we? It's the trophies.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what we all want as players. That's what the manager wants. I think we're so driven and hungry to try and win something. I think if you come in and see us, there's a group of boys here that, like I said, the mindset's changed in terms of we know what we want and we know we're in a great position to go and do it, but it's on us. So a big fight coming up over the next 2-3 months, but one we're going to relish.
Good man.
Top man.
Mikel, good afternoon.
Hello.
Any fresh injury concerns after Wednesday?
No, nothing new.
And you mentioned before the game that Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard had a chance for this weekend. What's the latest with them? Are they available?
Well, we have to wait till tomorrow, but there is a big possibility that they are available for the game.
It's fantastic news. Bukayo Saka, talking about fantastic news, new contract for him. A lot of your key players have committed their long-term futures to the club, but did this one in particular feel a little bit extra special?
I think they are all very important. We are very happy that the players are feeling in such a strong way about the club and what we are doing and the way they feel treated and the fact that they can continue to improve and win what we want to win together. And Bukayo's news obviously is great. It's one of our own. We got him here since he was very, very little, and for him to make that decision and the club to be so aligned with him, I think it's a really positive thing.
Mikel, it was clearly an emotional end to the night at Molineux on Wednesday. I'm sure you've seen the headlines. Arsenal have blown it, Arsenal are bottling it. But from what you've seen with your players, how have they reacted since? And have you seen anything in the mentality since then and over the past couple of weeks that's concerned you or worried you at all?
What I've seen is a tremendous reaction again, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, when you lose points, or in the last kick of the game again, in a very unpredictable manner, I would say, because to predict somebody with a 0.2 expected goals probably and one shot to concede an equalizer the manner that we did it is nobody can really understand that. But this is football, and that's the beauty of it. And that was a chapter. So we have a long season. Chapter 27 says, okay, we draw against Wolves in this manner. What I'm very interested is about the next one. Is what we are made of. Okay, what do we do about this, and how we write our own destiny from here and going forward, and that's it. And you have to react to that because life moves on. The result has to stay unfortunate as it was. There is nothing else we can do. What we can do is a lot. Is what's going to happen next.
talking about chapters, that if you looked at the fans at the end of that game, they looked totally crestfallen, like it may be the end for Arsenal, but clearly there's still a long way to go. What would your message be to those fans just now?
Because the immediate reaction is tough, you know. You put so much. You look at the first half, and actually what happened in the game. Even I was very post-match as well about the standards that we showed. It was much better than expected, but it's still not enough to the standards that we required. Very difficult to understand. So it is a shock in the system. But they've been incredibly good without, and we wanted to give them the victory. We couldn't, and we have to move on.
You say move on. It's a small matter of a North London derby next. Tottenham Hotspur may see this as an opportunity to dent your title chances, but from your perspective, is this almost maybe the perfect fixture for Arsenal after what's happened in the last couple of games?
It's the one we have after, and it's the one that we cannot wait to play. If we could play today, I think we would all love to play today to get that feeling that we have in our tummies and use it in the right way, and we'll have to show on Sunday.
How big a challenge is it preparing for this game, particularly that they've got a new manager? Because I'm sure you would have prepared for Tottenham Hotspur knowing that Thomas Frank is in charge, and this is now his first game in Igor Tudor.
Well, I think it's happened 7 times already to us this season, so we are getting used to it. We have analyzed everything that he's done in his career, in different clubs, different formations, the players that they have available, and from there, of course, we will have the capacity to adapt in relation to what the game requires, but the main focus as well is on what we have to do to win.
Finally for me, Mikel, I'm sure you've seen the incident in midweek involving Vinicius Junior. Just more on a general theme, have you had conversations with your players if an incident like that was to arise during a game, and have you spoken about what would happen in an instance like that? For example, if they said, I want to walk off the pitch, I don't want to play, is that something that you'd back, that you'd support?
Well, that's why we have meetings with the Premier League or UEFA before the season starts, to make sure that everybody is very aware of the protocols and what we expect from each other. Obviously, there is no room for racism in this sport. I think we need to stick to that. And then the manner of acting, I think you have to go case by case to understand what's the best option.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll go to Sarah from the Premier.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
Obviously, it's easy to overanalyze things when a team drops points. But I want to talk about something you just mentioned to Sky there about conceding late. The late goal against Wolves, obviously no one could have predicted that, and it came from a very random situation. But we've got Villa, Liverpool, Sunderland and Man United, goals conceded after the 80-minute mark. Do you believe these are all isolated incidences or mistakes? Or do you believe that towards the end of the match, maybe Arsenal defend too much, so got too much pressure, and there's something that can be fixed?
I think every game has had different situations. We have one as well against Palace in the Carabao Cup as well, in the 90-something. So, there are different situations to analyze. Certainly, it's not the intention to defend any result. That's not the mindset of the players. Sometimes you have to be creative with a position, and sometimes because you are not doing exactly what the game demands in certain aspects with the ball, which is more what happened on that one, but soaking pressure without conceding a single shot as well, which is the reality of what happened. The Villa one was, in my opinion, very different the last 7 or 8 minutes of that game.
We've seen Zubimendi and Timber's stats, they're the highest outfield players for their minutes this season, and we could say, as we approach 12 games left, they're looking fatigued and their level of drop, which is normal.
For me, they look great.
Yeah, they do, obviously, it's normal for some players to drop. But I've asked you previously about Norgard, I'm going to ask you again. When it comes to sometimes when players do that regular drop in performance, what are you assessing ahead of picking your team that maybe Norgard can't come in sometimes and replace Zubimendi?
Well, we played with Christian, Declan has played there as well. We have changed a lot of players in the team, so it's depending on the kind of game that we expect. Who do we believe is in the best condition? And that's, as you said, physically, mentally, or technically and tactically to deliver what we required.
Ian Tuttle.
Hi Mikel, how are you?
Good, thank you.
While over the last 48 hours, as you've already been asked, people are saying, have Arsenal bottled it or blown the title? I was wondering, is everybody losing a bit of perspective here? Because you're still 5 points clear at the top, you're still through to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, you're still into a League Cup final, and still in the FA Cup. Do you think the wider world are losing a bit of perspective and having a go?
No, because I think everybody has his own opinion and his perspective is the right one. I think if we all have an individual book, I don't know what your book would say, what you predicted 3 months ago, 5, 7, 8, it will be very interesting to go through yours and understand how you predict it or how you see the season going. We have ourselves a very clear instruction is we have to live the present. And what we did in the past is great, but we have to live the present. And the present is beautiful. We are exactly what we want to be in every competition. And what is there to play, we need to earn it like we've done in the last 7 or 8 months.
So you're a better manager now than you were this time last year. Is it just now for you about keeping calm, keeping everybody else here calm?
Yeah, keeping calm, keeping my eyes open, my ears open, and understanding what the players need to give their best. That's it. And what the things that we have to tweak every day, every game, to keep doing what we are doing, which is winning a lot of games and being in the position that we want to be.